All right. Well,
There we
welcome
go.
everybody on Twitch. As you can see that we're joined by Gil and Cheryl Ann Forrester we're going to do a special edition taping of the Powerplay Point podcast. We're going to do it live on my Twitch channel. We're also going to be bringing in a Facebook audience in just a couple of moments. But let me just double check to make sure that everything is working on Twitch properly, and then we will bring in that. And it seems that we are. Welcome in, Tina. And welcome in. Oh wow. Casey's here. Titan Rising KM. Hey, how are you doing? I'm super
Nice.
happy that you're able to join us live on Twitch. So yeah, we're about to just start this thing right now. We'll definitely at some point I'll bring in questions if it's related, Gil. I assume in either of the chats, and I'll try to keep a monitor of both of those things. Let me just get set up right here. We're about to go live on our Facebook page. And from then on, it's going to be as if it is a Powerplay Point podcast until afterwards. So we'll come back and I'll say my goodbyes after the recording is done. And he says, doing good, y'all. Happy to stop by and see awesome people. Well, I appreciate you both for joining us. And it's kind of like a secret show. I haven't promoted it too much, but I'm super happy that people can be here. With that, I'm going to start our live. We're going to do 10 seconds of pause, and I will point to the camera when, Gil, you can go.
Hello, welcome everybody, Caps fans, to this special edition of the Powerplay Point podcast. Yes, we are actually at the moment being broadcast live through Facebook Live and Twitch as well. So if you're listening and you happen to have a Twitch account, we are being recorded there through Robbie's channel, I believe. I've let the cat out of the bag. It's actually fully hosted by our content partner at the Sports on the Hill podcast. Mr. Robbie Gross is kindly hosting us this week. So we can kind of cast a wider net here, this being kind of a big week in Caps hockeydom. And of course, with Anna being off for the rest of the season, we are also ably co-hosted for the rest of the season by Cheryl Ann Forster, C4 as we call her, because she's blowing up with a lot of information, as she always is. So how you doing, the both of you, this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited that we can all do this together. It's been a little while since I've been on the Powerplay Point podcast, but we've had a lot of fun collabs all season long. It's been a tremendous honor to work alongside you, Gil, on both shows. And the one thing I want to say is just at the top, and then I do want to hear what C4 is, how she's doing as well. I have promoted you on Sports on the Hill podcast to a host. You now exist on the season 8 website as one of our hosts of that segment. So I appreciate all of the help this season in season 7. We just started season 8 this past Monday. If you're a fan of both shows, and so I'm excited to say that you are on the website. The website has been updated with all the new graphics information. We'll even include this video this evening once it's live on YouTube. We post all of our stuff there afterwards. But thank you, Gil, so much for all your help this season, and it's an honor that I should have bestowed to you even sooner, but I'm happy that I can do so now.
Well, we're definitely honored, and thank you for helping us out by giving us a wider reach. And I'd be remiss in saying that you took a chance on us all those years ago, and I can't even remember. It's been at least 6 or 7 years, I think, but yeah. We're still going strong, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. And also would be remiss in saying, well, it's a holiday weekend, so happy Easter out there if you're listening. And of course, given our special hosting situation, sir, Hag Pesach Kasher Vesameach. I hope I said that right.
That was really impressive. Yes. Happy Passover to those celebrating, and actually happy Ramadan for those celebrating too. Only 3 times in every 100 years do all 3 coincide. And so on this day, it is a particularly holy day for lots of people. So it's fun to be able to celebrate it with you guys and to celebrate episode 225 of Power Play Point Podcast. That is exciting, Gil. I remember when I found you in season 1 or season 2 of your show, and it's been cool to collab with you and Anna and C4 and all this. An awesome, happy, joyous day to everybody. And I mean, unfortunately, it's not joyous for the Capitals, but
No.
I will go on record at the beginning saying I never do this, and please don't get too mad at me, Caps fans, but I really wasn't rooting for us to win these games. And draft position is an important thing. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But also specifically this week, we're playing the teams that are fighting the Penguins for a playoff spot. And we're in a unique situation where we're playing the Islanders and Florida back-to-back. And those are the two teams that are just within 1 or 2 points of the Penguins. And we kind of need them to win some of these games because misery loves company, right? You know, so
there you go.
Anyway.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm with you there, Robbie. I mean, I do want the Islanders and I did want Florida to win, but I don't want our boys to play badly either, you know? So I'm kind of that little conundrum going on there. But yes, happy Easter to all, happy Passover, happy Ramadan to those who celebrate. Doing great this morning. I mean, the guys played a lot better than they did against Montreal last night, but like you said, Robbie, I want the Pens out. I really would love to see, I think it would be interesting to see a playoff series without either Ovechkin or Crosby in the mix. I think, and I think it's actually almost, and I might get scalped for this, but I think it's kind of a good thing because for the last, how many years, 15, 16, 17 years, it's all been all about Ovechkin and Crosby. Well, now it's time. Okay, let's see who else is out there. You know what I mean? You know, the McDavids, the Austin Matthews, all those guys, the McKinnons, not Bedard's not even playing yet, but the Beniers, all those guys. Let's see what they've got. Let's see what they can do, you know, and not that I'll ever get tired of hearing about Alexander Ovechkin. But having said that, I want to see what everybody else can do. So that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry that my lights are flickering. It's very windy, I guess, outside or something. So I may check on that in a second. But it's been an interesting week for sure for Caps fans and an interesting month because they really had such an opportunity looking back at this schedule. And I know that Gil later on in the show, we can talk a little bit more about, you know, why they didn't make it or whatever. But they could have won a bunch of these games, set themselves up to play the two teams they'd be fighting for to get into that spot and catapult them with 2 wins this week into the playoffs, right? And they lost all the significant games leading up to it. And I'm happy to say that they are continuing to lose, unlike the Wizards, who won a stupid game last week and got themselves out of a potential much better draft position for nothing. And I know people hate tanking. I know Champ, who's always on our podcast, is adamantly against the tank, but that really screwed us 3 positions and a potentially good draft. And I know it's a different sport, but it's the same principles apply. Like, what does that 1 win really do for you? You know, like I don't know. Like, it's hard for me, I guess. You know, especially when it could be so significant in draft positioning. So.
Well, I too am against the tanking principle. I believe that even if you're out of it, you have a responsibility as a professional athlete to do your very best at all times, unless of course you're hampered by injury, and we've seen a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. I don't really see where that benefits the team, and that's why they instituted the lottery system as the NBA did so many years before. But yeah, if they're going to lose, let it not be like the first game that was played this week against the Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to briefly go over that because that was a stinker. That was barely a half a game. Just to briefly go over the scoring summary, Dylan Strome opened the scoring at 5:30 with his 20th of the year. Third time he's done that. Jensen and Ovechkin on the assists there. And then that was it for the first period. And then everything just fell apart in the second completely. Caps actually had 2 power plays, ended up giving back-to-back shorthand goals. And that hadn't been done in something like 14 years.
Yeah.
The broadcast crew said something about that. It was pretty much downhill from there. Little last gasp from Backstrom, his 7th on the power play, the one that they didn't give a shorthand goal on, but ended up being a 6-2 loss for our Caps against the Canadiens. And yeah, it just looked like all through that second period, it just looked like they had been they had just were no longer interested in playing the game. You never want to say that they'd given up, but that certainly was the optics, at least for me. And I realized that there might have been a fatigue factor because they were down a forward. They were actually playing 11 forwards in this game, as they would in the next game, due to last minute injuries. But still, they've been in that position before, and they've gotten themselves around it, and it was just probably the worst showing that they've had all year. I didn't like the San Jose game for sure, but this one, that whole second period, that middle 20 minutes, they just looked absolutely disinterested in being there.
Yeah, this one I think hurt even more than San Jose, just because we actually started off okay. We actually had a pretty decent start to the game, but then, like you said, it just, for whatever reason, it's like, and I think I commented on the discussion, did they even come out? Where, are they even? And then the third period, again, it was those too little too late things. We ended up out shooting them 12-7 in the third, but doesn't mean anything if the shots don't go in. So
yeah. I found this game frustrating. I was doing a art podcast during it, but I literally turned away for one moment. I feel maybe like 5 minutes of graphic, and the game just got way away from them. And then I obviously rewound it back and saw later what had happened, and the shorthanded goals killed them. I mean, just the momentum, everything went out the window. They had been playing fairly well up until that point, but then, if they had scored on that power play versus giving up that shorthanded goal, it's a totally different game. And then it happened again. And and it just took a nosedive at that point. And then they just kept on coming. I was like, oh my God, they're just like rapid fire within a 5-minute period. I mean, they went from it being a close game to a 4-1 down. And it's like, at that point, the game's kind of lost.
That's the game. Tom Wilson got 17 minutes. He got 5 for fighting, 2 as an instigator, and a 10-minute misconduct.
Yeah. What's so funny is in the next game he doesn't fight, and I think that's the reason he didn't get the Gordie Howe. He had a goal and an assist, right? So
right.
So he got all the fighting out of the way too early in the week, I guess. I don't know, but so that's a bit of a bummer, because that's the easy one. He should have just picked a fight with somebody. So
yeah, exactly.
In any case, I understand that. Him being missing for 17 minutes probably had some sort of effect. You're already a forward down, but again, can't really rely on that as an excuse. They did start the game very well. I would love to know what happened between the first and the second period, but again, the two things you never ever want to do during a hockey game is give up a shorthanded goal and or give up a goal in the first or last minute of a period. You never want to do either of those things, and the Caps did the shorthand thing twice in this game, and it was just,
it's a momentum killer.
It is. It completely was, and it was just awful the way that they just did not come out for that period. And again, I'd love to know what happened, what was said, what wasn't said, but it raised some questions. I follow many fellow fans on Twitter, many of which raised some questions about the character of the team because of the way they played, because of how flat they came out in that second period.
Yeah, because it's weird because I don't think that they took a dive on purpose. It's not like they like they stopped playing or whatever. It's just the other team just sort of took it up to the next notch and they just couldn't. They missed a couple of assignments and then it just things like I mean having 2 shorthanded goals back to back I think will always deflate any team. Like I mean that's almost unheard of. I can't remember the last time that's ever happened. But and they also gave up a hat trick in this game, which they've given up. I think they're third in the league in giving other teams hat tricks, which is not a good statistic to be. But
to a guy that's been struggling to score all season, Joel Armia.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
he's only got 7 goals on the season. That was 5, 6, and 7 that he scored.
Yeah, he got half of them in a day. So yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's frustrating because I mean, I like Nicholas Backstrom's effort there to make it 4-2. That was an interesting goal because he received a goal in which he usually dishes, right? It's usually him passing to somebody in the front of the net and knocking it through. It was kind of cool to see him on the other side of that. I'm not even I mean, it must have happened at some point, but I feel like I rarely see him get the receiving end of that goal. So that was good to see, some fight, but then just almost right afterwards, just 2 minutes later, I mean, I guess by then it's the empty net. So that was a good effort for that empty net goal. Like some empty net goals, I feel like I thought we defended it well. He pushed through and he got it, and obviously that's a killer. Because if we could somehow make it, 4-3, maybe it's a different game. But that second period crushed us, and I mean, I don't think you'll win very many games, if any, when you give up 2 shorthanded goals.
No, not at all. But yeah, that game was notable for they let everything fall apart in the second period. So you had to wonder how they were going to come out in the next game with maybe nothing at stake for them, but a lot at stake for other players that were involved. When I say other players, I meant other teams. That their fates are so tied to this one game. You had to wonder how they were going to come out. Were they going to come out flat again? Were they not going to care? Were they going to give it their best effort? Well, they gave it their best effort in this game against Florida. I will give them that. I don't like how the game went. I don't like how they lost. No. I don't mind that they lost. I don't like how they lost. And there's a difference in that, and some eyebrows were raising that how things happened was maybe on purpose because they came actually pretty close to winning. And those of you who didn't see the game, not knowing what I'm talking about, we'll get to that in a second. But of course, the game we're talking about was last night against Florida. So we'll go down the more detailed scoring summary for this one. First period, there were no goals. Second period, Strome again, almost the exact same time. No, 8:51 of the second, opens the scoring again. His 21st, this one. Wilson and Protas on the assist on that one. That might be an interesting line for the future.
I liked that line. I was watching it last night. I did like that line.
Yeah, I kind of like that combination. They were had a lot of spark to them. And then a name that's becoming all too damn familiar to Caps fans, especially when we play this team. Carter Verhaeghe, his 41st, he ties the game. This after, I don't know if the second one, but there were actually 2 goals scored by Florida that were called back in this game, both on account of high sticks. I don't know, I can't recall when. The first one I think was either early in the second or late in the first.
Late in the first.
Yeah. In the first.
And the second one I can't recall. I think it was somewhere in the middle part of the game.
Yeah, I think it was between Strome and Verhaeghe. Yeah. They thought they tied it up and they didn't.
Right. And so it's kind of a strange game, the way the game was flowing in this game. But you had that feeling that the Caps were definitely into it, and I think Alexa Landestoy even said it had a playoff feel to her, and it kind of did. And I like the fact that they raised their compete level for this, and it showed. But we're still in the second. Caps actually end up falling behind. I think the thing that the thing that doomed them was they couldn't stay out of the box. What do you know? You feed the cat a bar of X-Lax, that's what's going to happen. Aaron Ekblad on the power play, his 14th, brings the Panthers up 2-1. And then a few minutes later at 16:05, Tom Wilson ties the game with his 10th of the year. Sherry and Kuznetsov on the assist for that one at 16:05 again. That was
a pretty pass from Sherry.
Great
that was a
effort.
Beautiful pass from Sherry.
Great effort by all three. It started on the near boards. Kuznetsov fought off a check to get a cross ice pass over to Sherry.
Actually, real quickly, I just wanted to let you know I can share the video while you talk about it.
Excellent. Awesome.
Excellent.
Yes. Let me see if this works. Hold on. Give me 1 second to reset one more thing, and then I will let you go. Here we go. This button is there. All right. Now you're good. So hold on. We're talking about the
we're talking about the
Tom Wilson goal.
The Tom Wilson goal.
Yeah. Let me get to that one. Here we
go. Okay, so there's Sherry, who flings it towards the goal, and then Tom Wilson gets a stick on it and puts it past Lyon. But before that, Kuznetsov was actually the one who started the play, fights off a check on the near boards. Okay, so there he is. Okay, so he flings it over to Sherry. He carries it into the zone and towards the goal, and there's Wilson for the tip in. And yeah, just a great play by all three guys. And I love how Wilson just knows how to angle his stick just right so that it goes over the shoulder of the goalie and into the net. And just a great play by all three. And you love to see something like that. C4, you talked about momentum swingers. That's one that can get you into the positive.
For sure.
And yeah, and as if you're still watching the video, you might be seeing it here, but the very last goal, well, not the very last goal, but the one that served as the dagger. This one, I won't say it was as bad as the Mantha goal against Pittsburgh, but yeah, as you can see, Charlie Lindgren plays the puck behind the net, tries to do a hard around to clear it, and I'm not sure what happened, but it ends up on Matthew Tkachuk's stick, who flings it at the goal.
Yeah, so they talked to Charlie after the game, and he said, I just didn't get it up as high as I wanted it to. I wanted it higher up on the boards. He was trying to get it to Marty. I think it was Marty that was back there, and it just didn't go where he wanted it to go. And if you look at how he whacks at it, it kind of flings out at a weird angle. So, and then he just wasn't ready when the shot came.
Deflected? I couldn't tell.
I'm thinking it was deflected.
Yeah,
I wanted very badly to put this on Charlie since he started the play, but he looked like he actually had a chance to save it. So we're looking at it again.
Sure, it was. Let me see.
He's got pretty good positioning here. It's right.
Yeah, he's in good position. I think it hit. I think it deflected off Marty. I do think it hit. Yeah,
he's in position
off of there.
And the TV announcers even said that most likely it deflected off Faravari because
right.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It goes right off there, off his almost his like upper arm and in.
Yeah.
Yeah. The official score sheet gives.
And if you look at Marty's reaction, you can see. I'm pretty sure.
The official score sheet says that it's Tkachuk's goal with no assist, meaning that nobody else on Florida touched it.
Right.
So
that's why I think it went off of Marty. I think it's still,
Yeah. And Charlie was like, he wasn't even sure if it went off Marty or not. He just knew that what he did at the beginning of the play, he felt responsible, whether he ultimately was or not. He felt responsible for not getting that puck up where he wanted it to go. He was trying to ride it hard around the board, and it ended up on Tkachuk's stick. But you're right. He did look like he was in good position. I do think it was deflected off Marty, but but I know Charlie felt bad for that. He, at least in his head.
Well, I'm sure he did. He's a stand-up guy to his credit, but that goal doesn't happen. If he simply roadblocks it and leaves it behind in the trapezoid area for somebody to pick up, that goal doesn't happen.
No, and that's enough. Yeah, and that's exactly why he's like, in his head, I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that. I should have hit it harder. I should have done whatever, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right?
Right.
But
it's so funny because if you read social media after that, because I didn't see that play live, I went back, I saw it later. Everyone was like, "Oh, he purposely let that in." I was like, "That's a really like
that's a stretch."
No.
There's a guy in a certain Facebook group room who immediately posted his opinion saying that, and I was so tempted to respond and say, "And your evidence is?"
Yeah.
No.
I don't even bother engaging those people. It's not worth it.
I knew Gil would have seen it. That's why I brought it up. It just like it made me laugh because I was like, oh, maybe he did. And then I went back and I watched it later, which is why I had it up, because I wanted to, show it today on the podcast. Because I mean, there's sometimes where I feel like you could let something in, but like he looked like he had pretty good position and he tried really hard to get around. So it's not, if he really just wanted to let it in, he could have just been, I got caught on the goal and didn't even make it around, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I did not see one player in red act like they didn't want to win this game. They all the skaters and the goalies, they wanted to win this game and they played like it and they acted like it. And you could tell. So there was no tanking on. They were up for this game, and to lose like that is just, as we say, a kick in the old gonads because, they were seconds away from at least getting a point.
Right.
And then that happens, and that again, it's another deflator, and it's just one bad thing after another. It's pretty much defined the season. Just seems like nothing was going to go their way this year.
Right. Well, when you have 2 or 3 key players out for half the season or almost all, or in the case of Hagelin, the entire season, that's different than, I mean, our injuries, yes, every team's been dealing with injuries. I don't know many other teams that have had 2 or 3 key players out at the same time for as long as we did.
Yeah.
And I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying that that's what happened.
And I get that, but I want to go back to the question of both the makeup and the character of the team. And so we'll flip back to the Montreal game. Something, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but it was a different team that came out for the second 20 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that every time, and it's been a lot, I admit, it kills me to say it because he's pretty much my favorite Cap, but every time TJ Oshie goes back to, the disabled list, as it were, not that hockey has one, but every time he goes back on the injured list, it just seems like the Capitals become a different team, become a team that goes through the motions. And
I see that.
Now that we're coming up on the off season and the Caps need, obviously, to rebuild their roster in a lot of different spots. So that kind of begs the question, do they go after a skill player or do they go after a guy like a TJ Oshie that has some of that, but is also a character guy in the locker room? How much of that is important to rebuilding this team?
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
Totally.
It's tough because like we have so much money invested in so many players. Like we're gonna need to have to put some trades together to get them off. And who's gonna want some of these players? They've kind of played themselves out of a lot of. I still there's value to them, but there are a lot of bloated contracts, and there are a lot of ones that are hard to move with some veterans. And so without trying to lump them with something else to give up picks or things like that. So we're in an interesting bind, and there's been promises made to Ovechkin that they weren't going to trade all of his friends away, and Nicholas Backstrom I love to death, but he's eating a lot of cap space, but I really want him on the ice the moment that Ovi breaks these records, so I'm torn. Like, I feel like we owed him for previous years, but I was hoping he'd still be able to produce a little bit better, as he's aging. But I mean, the fact that he's able to come back at all from this injury is impressive. So it's tough. We're getting a raid on on Twitch. So thank you, Raiders, for joining us. We're live doing a podcast with a friend of mine, the Powerplay Point podcast, hosted by the Blue Liner on Point, Gil. We've got special guest Shelley Forrester with us as well. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and joining us. And we're talking a little bit of hockey and the disappointing season for the Capitals. And this will be their last week of the season forthcoming. And they're not going to make the playoffs for the first time in a bunch of years. So we're kind of breaking all that down. But yeah, welcome on in.
And yeah, thanks you fellow denizens on Twitch for joining us. You were certainly Raiders of the Lost Art of podcasting.
Oh my
sorry.
God.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. If you hated that, you're going to hate the last one. Anyway,
I'm really
Jeff Clark is a dad, so I know he likes dad jokes. So well, I'm sure he'll be okay with that.
But getting back to the makeup of this team, they've got some games left to play. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go over quickly previews of coming attractions for the last time this season. So as Robbie mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's another game coming up. It's actually Monday night, 7:00 puck drop at Cap One against the Islanders, who are also fighting for a playoff spot. And then 24 hours later, they have to go up to Boston, play the Bruins for their last road game of the season. And then they finish the season Thursday night back at Cap One's Fan Appreciation Night, if you're going, against the New Jersey Devils, who have secured a playoff spot already. Highly recommend, if you're going, go ahead, go to that game. Luke Hughes is not Luke, his brother. I'm blanking on his first name.
Jack
Hughes. Myself of
I knew
screwing that up.
I saw that in the process. Go on.
Anyway, Jack Hughes. I highly admit going to see him. He alone is worth the price of admission. That's not hyperbole. He is one of the best young stars of the league. And C4, you talked about one of those guys that the league is going to need to showcase. He's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's great to see him and the Devils actually to make the playoffs. You know, been saying actually for a few seasons they were an up and coming team. Well, they've got a chance. I think they have a very good chance. I think they're locked in against the Rangers.
Looks like it, yeah.
In the first round, I think they have a very good chance to beat the Rangers in the first round. I really do.
I really like that matchup. And it's funny because they've come so long. Just in the 2020 COVID season, people will forget we beat them 8 times in a row. It's a record. No one's ever beaten another team in the regular season all 8 times. But then you could sort of see their rebuild, and they did it the right way. And and I think that they did a lot of really smart moves, goaltending, defense, and they really built a team that's quite different in the last 3 years from what we saw. And they should be commended for that, because the level in which they were able to rebuild in under 3 years is pretty impressive, and something that I think we should be looking to as an example if we want to get back there next season.
Exactly.
Definitely. And they actually have a lot of elements that we do. They have a decent, puck moving defenseman in oh God, I'm blanking on all their names. Dougie Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
he's a little pest, but I like
he's a little, well, so is Carlson, if you think about it. And
true.
But so you have that build on out from their offense, and of course decent goaltending. We gave them a goaltender, to build off of. But yeah, and they're not to open that can of worms, but
let's not go there.
They rebuilt, I think, the right way, and they were patient about it. And unfortunately, that may or may not be a luxury the Caps have. Unfortunately, because I think C4, you mentioned this already, kind of handicapped by what we've got now. But if there can be some patience, maybe I think this draft is going to be key. Whether or not they draft a guy, they end up maybe with a top 5 pick, and can draft a guy that's ready to step in now, or if they can wait a year maybe and develop a guy. And they got some guys along that are coming up that I think are ready to make a difference. Next year's going to be very interesting. This offseason is going to be very interesting. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think the Cap should be looking to do this offseason?
Robbie, I'll let you take this because I need to. My first and foremost, get a coach who will develop the younger players.
Well, that's obvious.
I mean, first and foremost, that's obvious. Secondly, please don't get me started on Ovechkin and these so-called promises that were made to him. Ovechkin needs to understand if he wants to break this record and get to the cup again, we need to build a team that can do that. And the team as it is right now, they may be his best friends forever, but the team as it is right now is not going to get him there. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But my biggest thing is player development. We need to start developing our younger guys if we want to get back in that position to get back in the cup. For whatever reason, Laviolette refused to do it. McMichael went to waste. LaPierre went to waste. You name it. I mean, none of those guys are as good as they could be if they had been given a chance. And yes, LaPierre is doing well and McMichael are doing well down in Hershey, but they could have spent more time up here if they had been developed properly and allowed to do what they need to do instead of being called up and sitting in the press box all the time. So that's my biggest thing is player development, getting the young guns in, catching up with all these other teams who have already gotten younger. And I'm sorry, Ovi, but cut to the hell with what you want. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Scout me if you will.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
I'm okay with that assessment. I mean, we kind of need to just insert some young energy into this and develop some of the talent that we have, because what I've seen is a lot of the talent we've picked the right people, but we haven't put them in the right positions, and then we let them go and they do really well. So I don't blame the scouts, right? They seem to be picking the right people. It's just whether or not we've been able to develop them. And I love Laviolette. We talked about it on last week's show. He's just, I think the game may have passed him by, or he needs very specific talent to make his system work. And so the injuries to veteran defensive core players that I think are the cornerstone of his philosophy, having someone like John Carlson go down is like the worst thing to have happen to him, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be a system in which one person goes down that it screws up the whole thing, right? So I mean, there's some problems with it. It's face, but at the same time, I think that we need a coach that has a better sense of the up and coming. He was great for a long time, and I still think he's a good coach, but I just don't know if some of the newer nuances of the game are passing by, or the ability to make changes on the fly and develop new young talent. I think that's some of the things that he's missing, and or get him the players that he specifically needs and have them be healthy. It's got to be one or the other. I just think.
I think it's some combination of both, because I think if the players, because we were doing great in December.
Right.
I mean, we had the young guns in, we were winning. I think we lost one game in December, maybe two. And
one in regulation anyway.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Wilson and Backstrom are ready to come back, and Peter Laviolette's like, all right, let's do this. We're going to put these guys in. And so I think when you have a situation like that, you've got to have a coach that understands you can't just you have to be able to bring them in properly, if for lack of a better word. I don't think they fully thought through, yes, we need these guys back on the ice. I get it. They're core players. They're key players. But you also have to understand you're winning right now. So you have to really think about how you're going to fit these guys back in so you can keep winning. You don't just throw them back in the game and your chemistry goes to shit and you don't know how to fix it. So like Robbie said, adjusting on the fly, is a huge thing that I've noticed Laviolette doesn't do. How many times did we hear line blender this year? Especially the last 2 or 3 months, right? So yes, that's his attempt to adjust on the fly, but it wasn't working. You need someone who can really and I think Laviolette tried. I mean, I'll give him credit. I think he tried. I really think he tried, but at some point he just kind of lost the room and never really got it back.
I think his the line blender thing was more, and I think this is along the lines of what Robbie said. The game has passed him by. I don't think that was his only answer to, oh my God, the offense is drying up. What do I do now?
Right. Exactly.
And the blending the lines like he did was his only answer to, what in the hell do I have to do to get these guys to score goals?
Right.
Well, for one thing, design better plays for one. Because over and over and over again, I would see these guys flood the near boards over by the benches. They go on that left side, carry the puck in, stop moving. They gain the zone, stop moving. They would stop moving.
Or they're on their way to gain the zone and he does a line change.
Or that too. But either way, there was no chemistry, no sense of, oh, okay, I know where this guy's going to be. That's where I'm going to throw the puck. That's why you'd have so many turnovers, so many missed passes, so many odd man rushes, no chemistry, no nothing. And yes, you can say for the 15,000th time, injuries had a role in that. But if you don't know who you're going to be playing with on your line. You don't know their tendencies.
Right.
You don't have a sense of what they're going to do, at least in your head. You don't have a team. You know, there's a saying in horse racing, no foot, no horse. You don't have any semblance of chemistry amongst the 20 plus guys on the ice. Then they're just 20 guys trying to achieve a common goal that doesn't know how to get there. And I'm sorry, but Laviolette, somewhere along the way, forgot how to build a cohesive unit.
Yes.
And that's not the only reason this team failed as miserably as it has this season, but it's a big reason. And that's why I keep saying hiring the right coach.
Or coaches.
I think that's the key, the coaches part, because I actually don't think it's necessarily our head coach's fault. I hate our power play coach, and he's existed
with a passion
through so many different coaches, and I have no idea why he's had his job as long as he has.
Well, the same with the goalie coach. Ever since Mitch Korn left, we've had Sammy, Vanacek, Kemper, Lindgren. All of them are really, really good goalies. Vanacek and Sammy are thriving now because they have good coaching and they have good defense and they have good teams in front of them. Kemper and Linden did great this year. I think they put their best effort. And I'm not saying they're better than Sammy and Vanacek. I think Sammy and Vanacek would have done just fine here if they'd had the great coaching and the right defense in front of them. They didn't. They moved on. They're doing well. But again, like you said, coaches, power play, goalies, face-offs. Oh my God, how many times were we under 50% on face-offs this year? You know, probably more than half of our games, right? So it's system-wide. There is a systematic problem with this team, and we need to figure out what it is and start fixing it quick.
I mean,
in my opinion,
Gil, would you be okay if they kept Laviolette for one more year, but completely redid all the assistant coaches?
No, I would not.
No.
I would not, because it is clear that they need a younger forward to spell off the veterans. You're going to have your first two lines are going to have mostly veterans on them. So you need a younger your third line's probably going to be full of younger forwards. And Sherry, I don't know where he's going to fit in all that. I kind of hope they keep him, but I don't know. But Protas needs to get more than 10 minutes a night. That's evident.
Sure.
And they need to throw one more in there, a winger or center. I don't know how they're going to. Maybe McMichael gets called up, but it's clear that he is not willing to infuse that youth in the lineup at all. He's going to over rely on the top two lines, and you're going to get more of the same. So if he stays another year, that's what you're going to get. And I'm sorry, just firing the assistants isn't going to be enough. You need a complete and total regime change from top to bottom. And that's to me, That's most, if not everybody that's on the bench. I'm not talking about people like, the video coaches. I think they've done as good a job as you can. Brett Lienhardt and Emily Engelnatsky, they've done as well as you can.
Right.
But just about everybody on the bench, the goalie coach, definitely he needs to go. Blaine Forsythe needs to go. And I just think, unfortunately, Laviolette's getting caught up in that, but some of it's also his doing. You need a new voice in there who is going to do the best that he can in assembling the pieces and putting them in the best position to win.
Yeah. And
I think that's going to be the key.
Yeah, I think that's part of what they were hoping Scott Allen would do, would be get in Laviolette's ear and say, hey, da 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 da. But Laviolette, for whatever reason, didn't seem to want to listen to that.
I would not mind Scott Allen staying.
I would like him to stay. I'm not sure if he's head coach ready.
No, he's not.
I would like for him to stay. And maybe in another year or two,
maybe
promoting.
But he's done a terrific job with the penalty kill this year, and that if you can call anything a success this year for the Caps, it was that. So I would be more than happy if he stayed, but everybody else that's on bench, they all need to go.
Mm-hmm. And I think Robbie has the right of it. I think the game's just passed because again, these coaches are older. They've been in the league a lot longer. I think the game is just sort of, it's gotten too fast, and it's gotten, I think it's just kind of passed them by a little bit. And, maybe it is time for them to think about retiring or moving on, or, I just don't think we're going to be able to get the pieces that Laviolette thinks he needs to be successful.
Well, it's no longer, because of salary cap, and you've got 32 rosters you got to fill out. There's no way.
Exactly.
There's no way you can do that. So you have to make do with the lineup you're given. And
if you don't know how to do that,
he failed
miserably.
So, I mean, that leaves us, but that's not to say that there aren't other moves that aren't to be made. And we'll get into this more next week when we do our post-mortem. But I already mentioned the draft will be key. If the Caps end up with a top 5 pick, then that might give them a chance at somebody who's, NHL ready now.
Yes.
But a lot has to happen between then and now. And as I've said many times, I don't put my faith in ping pong balls.
No.
So
I was happy that we did guarantee ourselves a spot, though. I know that we're talking about not tanking, but I think it was really important to get in that bottom 11,
Yeah, it's they have guaranteed themselves a top 11 pick, and assuming they keep on losing, they're probably going to wind up in the top 10, the low top 10, and that's where the balls get a little more interesting. Make of that what you will. So the lottery is going to be interesting. Draft day is going to be interesting. They also have the option, of course, to trade up, because they've gotten a lot of their picks back that they traded away. So draft day is going to be very, very interesting. So we're actually going to have a special, I mentioned this last week, we're actually going to have a special episode covering the Caps moves on the 2 draft days. And I'm going to have a special guest that's had, as I mentioned last week, had his eye on this year's draft class. So we're going to go over that day, which is late June is when that's going to be. I think the last weekend in June is when that's going to be. So that we're going to cover. So. Yeah, we're going to cover the Caps moves on that day, and we're going to talk about what could have been, what they do, and how it'll benefit the team. So stay tuned for that. But next week will be the last regular season episode, of course, and with no playoffs, well, I mean, not really much, unfortunately, to cover. So between then and now, might as well go ahead and say it now. Hope everybody has a great spring as we wind down this episode for this week.
I will say on my end, I'm also tomorrow I'm going to do a live watch along. of the Islanders game. I'm going to have our friend Tim, who's a DC sports fan of all the different sports teams. We'll both be watching it. I may even
Nice.
cut into the podcast with this thing for more in-depth coverage of the first couple of games, or I may just direct people to the website where I'll have a video of this posted as well. So and then next week I will do also on Monday the last episode, and maybe I'll have both of you guys on. I'll talk to Anna to see if I know that she has been pretty busy, but see if she'll join, and if not, that's fine. And then maybe Carol can join, but if not, the three of us can recap the season as well. So
Sure.
that'll be kind
Certainly.
of the end of
Absolutely.
the cap season from our perspective. But I will do a little updates throughout the postseason up until May, because the podcast will be covering basketball. This is actually the last week for the basketball segment, but we still cover our XFL team, which is the DC Defenders, and also the Nationals as well, who are in fact just starting a game right now. But the Orioles had that game on live. They are losing to the Yankees, unfortunately, 4-0. So lots of sports. Unfortunately, no, I'm not gonna. Usually we cover the NHL playoffs a lot more in depth, but often we're in it, so I have more invested. So we will definitely give little updates here and there, but not to the same level we have in the past. But it's been such a fun hockey season. It's an unfortunate way for it to go out, but some interesting games upcoming. I don't know if you want to break those games down any more, but I'm happy to end the podcast however you want to do it.
Well, yeah, fairly quickly again. So it's the Islanders Monday night. I think that will be something of a carbon copy of the Florida game. They match up fairly evenly. The Boston game, well, that has the potential to be a slaughter, but it depends on how rested Boston wants to be. So that's going to affect how that plays out. And then the Devils, as I said, it's fan appreciation night. If you've got a ticket, show up. The Caps are going to try, the team organization is going to try and show you some love if you show up. So worth that, and certainly worth the price of admission to see Jack Hughes and company, because I think they're definitely an up and coming team. So they're, I'd give the Caps this much. They're making it interesting one way or the other, making themselves worth conversing about still. And this is your last chance, your last week to kind of do a final evaluation of what they have now before what happens in the off season, because there's going to be changes. You're not going to see this same team take the ice next year. That's for damn sure.
Nope.
So all right, so yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wind it up here. It's a good place to start. So C4, thanks again for joining us again. And of course, want to thank Mr. Robbie Gross on this holiday edition for not passing us over. And so,
oh my God.
Well done.
I'm like Mel Brooks. I'm ashamed of that joke, but again, had to be said. But yeah, so keep the faith, Caps fans, and keep your eyes on this team. Again, they're worth watching still. And make some notes, and feel free to let your observations known. Watch this team, see what they're doing right, see what they're doing wrong. This is your opportunity as a fan to learn the game a lot better, because you're not as vested in, oh my God, they got to win. Now you can study the actual game and how they play and learn the nuances of the game, like Sammy Silver said a few weeks ago. So I urge you as Caps fans to kind of pick up on that as much as you can now that these games are quote unquote meaningless. And for once, maybe you can see me do the air quotes with my fingers since we're live streaming video. But I urge you as Caps fans to pick up as much as you can in these last few games and learn more about the game as much as you can, because maybe they'll get back to winning and it'll be a different story next year, and it won't be as easy to pick up. So do what you can with that. So we're going to go ahead and wind it up here. And so once again, thanks, Robbie, and Charlene, for another great week. And we're heading into the final week, so keep the faith, Caps fans. So this is the Blue Liner on Point, signing off and reminding you that, well, I didn't think I was fat, and then I went into a quick drive-through trip for lunch to a McDonald's, and then the drive-through person said, well, sorry about your weight. Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
Let's go Caps.
Let's go Caps.
Oh my God.
Recording stopped.
We're out from Facebook. That's hilarious.
Sorry, guys. I couldn't resist.
I was trying my best. I'm sorry.
That's funny. So we have a Pokemon chat that is live that happens while we're doing every 15 minutes. A Pokemon shows up in chat that people can catch on Twitch. And the most angry bunny just showed up, which I thought was hilarious. And it happened right when Gil was doing it. It's like this big busky bunny. It's really funny. So anyway, but thank you guys so much for doing this. And it was cool that we got rated. And we are about to end our Twitch live stream as well. But I really appreciate everyone for tuning in on that side as well. It was a fun podcast, and I look forward to doing a watch along. And C4, are you going to the game tomorrow, or are you still up in the air?
Unfortunately not. The tickets Cortina was trying to get for me fell through, so I will be here.
Okay, well, if you do want to watch alongside of us, you can always feel free to message me, or you are more than welcome. Same thing with Gil. I know if you guys
shoot me the link, and if I remember, I'll click in.
Yeah, for sure. The same thing with you, Gil. We're just gonna be a watch along. It'll be very low key, and I will just reference that people can.
Mondays are rough, but it's gonna. I mean, I would like to at least, if it's okay, just hop in for the first period.
Yeah, that's all I'm. Well, the show is still at 9. So
right.
Yeah.
So it'd be just the third period, if anything.
Right, exactly. So it'd just be if you want to watch along with the third period or not.
I'll try.
Yeah, and there's no pressure either way, obviously. And if you guys join us, you join us, and if not, you're not. And but I appreciate you for being a part of this live stream, and I appreciate everybody. Oh, I caught the angry bunny. Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome. I hope you guys are okay. I added a Lily cam just because she was being so cute.
She's so cute.
So yeah, I figured
we love animals here in the Triple P. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine's over. You can't see him. He's over back by the window on his little. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you can see him back there in his cat bed. I don't know. The window kind of glare. But he's back there.
So, but it's cool. Yeah, a lot of people that are still in chat over on Twitch are big dog fans. A lot of them have their own dogs, so I thought that they would appreciate.
Actually, I'm not sure where mine went. My dog is named Mary Jane.
Oh, nice, Mary Jane. I like it.
That's the name she came with. Stop laughing.
Mine's Lily, which is for Lily Potter, Harry Potter fame.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a very sweet dog. But yeah, no, this was super fun. And so if you guys want to jump on, if not, I'll have Tim here live. So him and I will just chat about the live game. We'll give our quick thoughts about the games we did, but I'm just going to direct people. I'm probably not going to cut it in to the podcast just because that makes it complicated. Otherwise, I can just do a one take. And I'll just direct people to come check this out. I'll have this video, including the extended version that we're doing right now, live on the page that people can see all the extra action. So
okay. Legit question. You said we got rated on Twitch. What does that mean?
Nice. Yeah. So Twitch is a really cool platform that you can send your entire audience into another audience. So at the end of it, which is actually what we're about to do right now, you guys are usually in the first segment of my show, so you usually don't see the raid part of it. But I take whoever's sitting here right now. We've got a couple of people lurking and a couple of people watching. It looks like we've got about maybe somewhere between 4 and 10 people watching over here. And we'll take all of them and we'll go to a music stream, a sports stream, a game stream, something else. And I take my entire audience and I transfer them over. If people want to do a raid call, I give them like a fun message that everyone can say at the same time. And then there's a sub raid call, which is if anyone subscribed to me, which means that they pay $5 and they get my fun little graphics. Then they can use Fiery Charizard when we come in, and it look all badass. So we'll then go invade somewhere else, and we'll go say hi and bring whoever is remaining here. But that's what they did after they were done with I believe a music stream. They came and joined us, and they're good friends of mine. I actually moderate for them sometimes, so I make sure that their chat has whatever links or people need any questions or whatever, you answer them. Moderators are people with swords in the chat that can help ward off bots or people who say terrible things or things like that. So it's a lot of fun over on Twitch. It's a lot more interactive, and I love our Facebook community because there's a lot of really knowledgeable Caps fans that we share this to. But the Twitch following is very loyal. Like, they don't really even care what I'm talking about. They would be here for art or music or for just chatting or this or whatever. That they come back and do a lot of different things. So I do some art streams also, Cheryl-Ann, sometimes on this platform, where we make
I did sign up for Twitch, but I haven't figured it out yet. So I have to sit down and play with it.
So emotes are like emojis. They're little graphics that you can put in a chat that sort of, some of them can be animated, some of them are static, right? And when you subscribe to somebody, you get additional little graphics that you can use. And you can use those all across Twitch, on somebody else's channel. I have Pokemon ones. I've got cute ones of my kids. People can, they're like stickers almost, if you look at it that way. Like in a chat message. So so it's just kind of a fun way. One of my streams I did this week, since it was season 8, I did a premiere week where I did different shows every day. Also my family's out of town, so I can do that. So where I did different shows every
also my family's out of town, so sorry. I can do that. No, I just actually opened up Twitch and it was the podcast.
There you go. It shows that we're still alive, right?
Yeah. I just turned it off.
So you can see all the different graphics like that. Well, we do have a couple people here. Let me just take a quick look at where we're gonna raid, but I'll say goodbye to you guys real fast, and then I can figure out where we go next after that. But Gil and C4, thank you guys all season long. You've been phenomenal. And next week, if you can jump on Monday, great. If not, we'll see you next week, and we'll do a kind of a final Caps recap, if you will. And that'd be great. Have a great one, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye.
All right. And Chad, if you guys have somebody that you would like to see, let me know. I'm taking a quick look at who is online. I'm happy to bring, we can go, you know what? Maybe we'll go to an art stream. I feel like I always go to like music or something else, but I have a friend of mine who's doing art right now. And she's always a lot of fun. Let's go visit Stitch. So grab your raid calls. And we're gonna raid a mature and fun channel. She's an awesome artist. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, tomorrow on Sports on the Hill podcast, we will start with a Caps live watch along with Tim, and then maybe Gil or C4 might join us for parts of that. Then we're going to have Champ join us. We're going to recap the end of the Wizards season. It's the last week for the Wizards. They actually have a live game, I think, today. So that game is happening tonight, I think. Hold on. Yeah, Wizards. Oh no, that game is actually happening right now. That game just is about to end. The Wizards are going to lose successfully to the Rockets, which is good because we want them to have a better draft spot. So we'll recap that game, and we'll also talk about the XFL as well with Champ. Look forward to seeing you guys at 9:00 tomorrow for episode 2 of season 8 of Sports on the Hill podcast. Go to SportsOTHP.com for all the episodes and all the videos of all the podcasts I did this past week, including the season 8 premiere. You can check out my YouTube channel for the Disney vlog. That was really fun and awesome to do. Hope you guys are able to check that out. And we'll see you tomorrow at 9. Come say hi to Stitch with me, and we'll talk to you soon.